This is Bren Murphy from Post Digital Blog. Yeah, you can see the address there in the little screen within Photoshop, and this video is about Photoshop, or more about the workflow you need to go through when you're using medium format film. So let us start. Now, first thing you need, of course, is your film, and this is what medium format film looks like when it's being developed. You'll see that there's some light corners, because this is a negative. There'll be dark corners when this has been actually produced into an image. The Holga, of course, being notorious or famous, depending on your point of view, for its vignetted dark corners. You'll notice, of course, that above everything else, it's brown. That's what film's like. Colour film is not like black and white film. Black and white film, you see the inverse of what you end up with. The negative, if something's 100% black in the negative, it'll be 100% white. In the positive, if it's 50% in the negative, it won't change. But it's not quite the same for the colour film, because everything's kind of messed up. You can't just simply reverse the image or invert the image and get something that's sensible without a lot of playing around. And all that playing around is done by your scanning software. So next step is to actually place the film into the scanner, which looks a little bit like that. You can see there's room for about 2 frames. You have to cut that and cut the roll and slot in the piece that has the film, the image that you want to scan. You then preview it, and you get a quick little scan of what it's going to look like, and it's kind of blued over to indicate that you haven't selected anything. The next step is to select the image that you want to work on and adjust the levels. And you can see here that I have moved the white indicator more or less to the right hand extreme of the histogram. I haven't quite moved the black pointer down to the lowest extreme, the leftmost extreme of the histogram, and that's because there's a little bit of black in the corner anyway, so it's okay to have a little bit of black happening here. Now, I don't try and correct the image at this stage. What I try and do is maximise the tonal range by setting these white and dark apart. I don't worry too much about the middle, because I just want to get the most information I can get out of my scan and then work on it in Photoshop. Now, in Photoshop, this is what we see. Now, a few things you might notice. As I said, the dark corners. Now, I'm going to do another blog post about this, and the information I'm about to give you is complete guesswork, but you know, you can buy Holga lenses and other sorts of Lomo lenses to screw onto your DSLR or your DSL, if you've still got one of those. Now, this is how the Holga lens covers the full frame of 120 film. And you'll see the really interesting stuff with the Holga, it's happening in the corners. Now, the vignetting, I don't care too much about, but I really love this effect where things start to get a little bit smeared, a little bit dreamlike around the edges, contrasted with a fairly normal, fairly sharp middle. Now, what would happen if instead of a piece of 120 film, we had a piece of 35mm film? Well, my guess is that we would see the 35mm film would be roughly like that. So you can see that all that area where the interesting stuff is happening is off the frame of the film, doesn't get recorded. Now, if you have a typical lower end DSLR camera like I do, your image sensor is kind of even smaller, so you're completely missing the interesting bits of the Holga lens. But that's a digression. As I said, another blog post about that another day. This is not typical of the Holga photographs that I take. It might be typical of the Holga photographs that you take. It is pretty much well exposed. The levels aren't too bad. There's room for a bit of improvement. Usually my Holga photos are a bit more messed up than this. Light gets in, the Holga of course has a very limited range of settings, so you basically have to work in the right light conditions, and I'm guessing these were pretty close to the right light conditions for the film. Incidentally, this is a picture of a fishing hut or a beach shack at a place called Cape Douglas in South Australia, which is quite an isolated little beach community, or collection of sheds anyway. So what might I do from here? Well, usually I would go and have another look at those levels. And again, you'll see they're pretty good. I might just tighten things up a little bit. I might just increase. There we go. And just play around with the centre point. This is all happening off screen, I'm sorry. There we go. That's what I'm looking at, that thing. I tend to like things darkened down a little bit more dramatic, and that's pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. Often I would adjust the colours here, put a little bit more vibrance in, shift it a little bit to the blue or the green. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Now the other thing that I might like to do is to get the good old Band-Aid here, the healing tool, and just get rid of some of this dust. It's kind of cheating, but that's okay. But in this case, I don't really want to. I don't mind the dust. The dust tells me that I have had this film sitting around for a year, and it's accrued a little bit of dust. Also, you'll note there's a bit of a crease here, which is just basically a crease in the film, which has been picked up. That's basically it. If you want to have a good look at the final image, which I will play around with a little bit more, then pop along to the blog and you can see it. And also I might revisit this image and talk a little bit about the sort of options that you get when you use the convert to black and white option in Photoshop. Not the same thing as just turning it to a black and white image. You actually have a lot to play with, and it can drastically change the mood of an image. But again, that's a topic for another day. Thank you.